Boom, boom, boom. Ah, it's pandemonium! Today we're talking about turning red, and I brought a red panda just for the occasion. Welcome to Teacup for One. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees. And guys, we have a Pixar movie set in Toronto. I cannot express to you how bleeping excited I was that Toronto was going to set the stage for a Pixar film, and let me tell you, that movie did not disappoint. Of course, I am talking about Domee Shi's Turning Red. Obviously, this isn't Domee Shi and this isn't the movie, but I just, by some weird coincidence, happened to have an adorable stuffed red panda. So her name is now Mei Mei, and she's a part of the Teacup for One cast, at least for today's video. Look how cute she is. Before we get going, I want to give a very special shout out to today's sponsor, Matt's Teacup Tea Shop. What? Am I allowed to sponsor my own videos? You're darn tootin' I am. I haven't actually officially launched it yet, but you're getting a sneak peek because I have opened a t-shirt store. So I thought it would be a lot of fun to start designing and selling my own graphic t-shirts. I love graphic t-shirts. They are so much fun. So I have entire collections centered around the things that I love, that I talk about on this channel a lot. One of my favorite collections is the Childless Millennial collection. If you understand that reference, you will understand the t-shirts. And right after watching Turning Red, as a Canadian, I was inspired to create this design, commemorating the Toronto Pandapocalypse of 2002. The Pandapocalypse, a part of our heritage. If you want to grab one of those shirts for yourself, they are now available on Matt's Teacup Tea Shop. Link in the description down below. Moving on. Whew, alright, so much to say. Where to begin? On the off chance that you're watching this video and you have no idea what Turning Red is, I feel bad for you and you need to go watch it. It's on Disney+. So Turning Red is the feature film debut of director Domee Shi. She's an Academy Award winning director. She won the Oscar for animated short a couple years ago with the Pixar short Bao, which really set the stage for this film. There's a lot of similarities. Much like Bao, this is a movie that is also set in Toronto. It's a movie that's also about Chinese culture, well, specifically Chinese Canadian culture, and at its heart, it's a story about parent-child relationships and how those evolve with time as the kid grows up and eventually starts to form a life of their own. Something really beautiful that I read in an interview with Domee Shi was she was asked why Bao was about a mother-son relationship as opposed to a mother-daughter relationship, and her answer was, it's because it was a short. If I wanted to do something that was exploring the mother-daughter dynamic, I would need a feature film. Fast forward to 2022, we have that feature film, and it did not disappoint. There are some very specific things about this movie that I knew going in would just speak to my life experience in a unique way that I never expected to see reflected in a Disney film. And of course, I'm just talking about the time and the place in which this movie takes place. Because Domee Shi and I are the same age. We were both born the same year. We both grew up in the same part of Canada. Well, I think she grew up in Toronto, and I grew up in Mississauga, which is the city next door to Toronto, but this film takes place in 2002. That is when I was in high school. So I was seeing the high school experience of a Canadian teenager on screen in a Pixar film that was the exact same time and place as teenage Matt going to high school. There was just something so special about that I really can't articulate, but it just made watching this film for me that much more magical. There are so many fun Canadian references just peppered throughout the film, and I need to watch it a bunch more times because I'm sure I missed out on a lot of things. But I know there were Timbits, which are a huge part of the Canadian culture, plus the Sky Dome. We'll talk about that in a second, but just the Sky Dome, being the space in which the climax of the film happened. Oh my gosh, and the Daisy Mart. I have never laughed so hard in a Pixar film as when the mom said, "Is that the sketchy clerk from the Daisy Mart?" And then when they went to the Daisy Mart, I just can't believe that the Daisy Mart now exists in the Pixar universe. That makes me so happy. But no, don't worry. This video isn't just going to be about me talking about obscure Canadian things in Turning Red. Although that would be a very good video. I probably should have done that instead of this spontaneous rant I'm about to go on. I don't really have that much to rant about because I don't have anything about this film that I think could be improved. I think this film is absolutely perfect for what it is, which is a coming-of-age story with a unique perspective that we haven't seen before. I think that this movie does something very similar to Coco, which I absolutely love. Like, Coco is my favorite Pixar film of all time. So I'm not saying that this is like usurping Coco as my favorite Pixar film, but I think this movie is successful in a lot of the same ways that Coco was successful. What I love about it is how it crafts this absolutely beautiful and clever mythology that is wholly unique to the film, while at the same time being respectful and paying homage to the actual culture that the movie is about. Now, I'm saying that without doing any research to back it up. But, I mean, this movie was directed by a Chinese-Canadian woman. So I'm going in with the assumption that yes, there is some element of cultural authenticity there. If I'm wrong, let me know. But I don't think I'm wrong. I trust Domee Shi. But what I love is that it seemed like she was definitely giving us an authentic portrayal of her life experience as a Chinese-Canadian, while still developing this absolutely beautiful, whimsical mythology surrounding this specific family's history with the red panda. I watched a little bit of the behind-the-scenes documentary for Turning Red that dropped on Disney Plus yesterday, the same day that the film itself dropped, and something that stood out to me was when Domee Shi mentioned that picking the red panda was kind of a symbol of the Chinese-Canadian experience. I'm totally misquoting her, but what I loved was that she mentioned that the red panda, yes, it does have its roots in Chinese heritage, but also it's red and white, which of course is reflective of the Canadian flag, and like that's just something that I thought was really cool. And I think it's an indicator of how brilliant Domee Shi appears to be as a director. She went into this movie with such a clear vision, and I believe that that's why it is so successful. Just everything in terms of story, but just also in terms of animation style. What I have always loved about Pixar is that they are so brilliant with having a clear-cut aesthetic for their films. And something that was just so special and unique about this film, aesthetically, was that it took that Pixar look that we all know and love, but it did this beautiful fusion between the Pixar aesthetic and the anime aesthetic. And I've never loved anime, but it worked so well for this film because it gave us an entire world that we were seeing through May's eyes. And it made me think of something that Domee Shi actually said when she accepted the Oscar for Bao a couple years ago. And I'm slowly realizing that this video is just turning into me professing my admiration for Domee Shi as my new favorite director. And I'll roll with that. Canada power. I remember she said, again, I'm going to misquote her, but it was something to the effect of, "This Oscar is for all the nerdy girls doodling in their notebooks at school. Follow your dreams." Just something like that. Like, this movie, I think the reason it speaks to me is because it is so reflective of the time period I grew up in. It's so reflective of the types of people that I was friends with in high school, the types of people that I went to school with, and in some ways, myself. Because I so distinctly remember those girls in high school that were doodling, that had just like expressed their worldview in the margins of their notebooks. And it wasn't my experience, but it was like a high school experience that existed adjacent to mine. And I just saw it come to life in this movie in such a unique, special way. It was kind of the same with the entire third act of the film taking place at the Sky Dome. I grew up going to so many events at the Sky Dome, and just the way that they captured the palpable energy of being in a giant, excited crowd in that very specific space, it was amazing. And can we just take a moment to appreciate Canadian treasure Sandra Oh? It has been amazing watching her build her career over the past 20 some odd years. Like, I remember her playing the principal roles in Big Fat Liar and in The Princess Diaries. At the time, I didn't even know that she was the Canadian treasure that she is, but I just knew her as like that person. I thought that I was going to go through my entire life seeing her in those roles as the administrator. But she has proven that she can do absolutely anything. She can play any type of role, and it was just amazing seeing her carrying an entire Pixar film alongside the kid. I can't remember who she was. Let me look it up. Rosalie Chang. Okay. Rosalie Chang holds her absolute own up against Sandra Oh in this film. And I think there's something incredibly compelling just about talented young actors in general, but especially talented young voice actors. Much like the kid who voiced Miguel in Coco, Rosalie Chang absolutely holds this entire movie together. And I think it's easy to look past incredible voice acting because, like, impeccable voice acting, in my mind, just comes across as the most natural thing ever. You know, I think there are certain vocal performances that are so memorable and so specifically tied to the characters just by merit of being a perfect marriage, if you will, between what we see on screen up against the voice coming from the actor. That's what Rosalie's performance as Mei Mei felt like to me. Like, I think Mei Mei, both as human and as Red Panda, is going to quickly become a fan favorite in the Pixar and Disneyverse. Oh my gosh, I just realized in my lifetime we're probably going to see a Red Panda Mei Mei meet and greet in the Disney parks. And then we can live our dream of getting to hug her. Can we just acknowledge how adorable Panda Mei Mei is? I know the entire movie kind of revolves around that, against like her gaining popularity because everyone just wants to hug the adorable red panda. And I am here for it. We need more movies with adorable red pandas. And balance, that's a word that I want to focus on for a little bit. Because I think this movie, one of the strengths of it, one of the many strengths of it, is how perfectly balanced it actually is. Like the climax, for example. It is absolutely terrifying, but it is also pretty adorable. Because yes, you have a giant monster destroying the city, but it's a cuddly red panda. So, you know, if you're gonna go see it with a bunch of little kids, it's not gonna be too scary. And I think that ties into the strength of this film. It is a family film that's embracing the awkwardness of awkward situations to turn them funny, to make them accessible, and to kind of, I guess, open up discussions, which I think is brilliant. You know, I think this movie is doing the same thing that Big Mouth does, the Netflix show. Big Mouth has been praised for being both hilarious and for also being like more informative and educational than most actual sex ed classes that you would find in school. I think in some ways Turning Red is doing the same thing as Big Mouth, but it's something that you can comfortably watch with your entire family and with your parents. There is no way in bleep that I would ever want to watch Big Mouth with my parents. But Turning Red is truly a family film. And like I said, it's embracing that awkwardness in a way that's making the puberty discussion maybe less alienating and more accessible. I love that. I think this is one of the best Pixar films to come out in a long time. It's a movie that gives us representation, not just cultural representation, but representation just for a generation, i.e. millennials, a nationality, i.e. Canadians, but also representation for teenage girls to see themselves in an animated film in a way that I don't think they've been portrayed before, at the very least not by Disney. So this movie just has so much going for it. Yes, it definitely does speak to like that very specific Chinese Canadian teenager demographic, but there is truly something there for everyone. If you've had a complicated relationship with one or both of your parents, this movie will probably make you cry. If you went through puberty, this movie will make you uncomfortable in ways that you can relate to. And if you haven't gone through puberty yet, it's going to prepare you for all the awkwardness that will bring. And you probably won't turn into a giant panda, so that'll just make it a little bit of a disappointment. Also, if nothing else, this movie has a giant, cuddly red panda. What more can you want from a film? The big takeaway here, Turning Red, Matt loved it. That's it. I'm probably going to watch it a bunch more times. I need to get all the Funko Pops, and I cannot wait, because once I get the Mei Funko Pop, both human and panda, I am going to do an excursion throughout Toronto, taking a bunch of pictures. Let me know if you would like that to be a vlog. I can show you the different neighborhoods that they portrayed in Turning Red. You know what? I don't even care if you want to see it. I'm going to do it, and I can't wait. But until then, friends, this concludes yet another episode of Teacup 41. Now let me know in the comment section down below, have you seen Turning Red yet, and what did you think? And if you want to be the first to know when I do release that video of Matt's Turning Red tour of Toronto, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And if you haven't subscribed already, it is super easy. All you have to do is click on my face. Thanks for joining me again today, everyone. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and that's the T cup for 1. Oh, Canada.